And so, good morning, dear ones. Thank you so much for being with us this morning and sharing your practice and sharing your presence. Let's begin with 3 conscious breaths. A conscious breath is where we seal the mouth, breathe deeply through the nose, hold that breath for a few moments, and then release slowly so that the exhale is longer than the inhale. Let's begin. Holding for just a moment, and then releasing slowly. And as you release, can you become aware of the body relaxing, becoming more spacious, gentle, and easy? And a second conscious breath. Holding that for just a moment, and then releasing. And as you release, see if you can also release the energy of the week, the going, the doing, the struggling, the striving, all the things that need to be done, all the people that need to be contacted. Allow all that to just release in this breath. Give yourself permission to just be without having to do anything. And a third conscious breath together. Holding that for just a moment, and then releasing slowly. And this time as you release, let us set an intention in this time together this morning to simply cultivate presence, cultivate being. We are human beings, not human doings. So in this space, we want to fully arrive in the here and the now and just be present with what is. In this space, there's nowhere to go, nothing to do, nothing to add to yourself, nothing to take away. You are a perfect expression of consciousness. And so, good morning and welcome everyone to Temple Buddhist Center's weekly Sunday meditation service. My name is Victor, and I'm honored to be of service this morning. We hope that your experience this morning will be one of spiritual renewal and or nourishment, as well as a chance to come together and connect in sacred Sangha, whether it's physically there in your home with your family, or with your Temple Buddhist Center Sangha, or with the greater Sangha, our communities, our nation, and our world. If you are new to Temple Buddhist Center, then welcome. So glad that you found us, and hope that we can become a part of your spiritual experience. Here at Temple Buddhist Center, we practice Western Buddhism, which is a blend of Eastern philosophy and Western psychology. And this new and exciting form of spirituality is dynamic. It is changing right in front of our eyes. It is inclusive. It is active. And it focuses on core Buddhist insights, as well as mindfulness, meditation, and their practical applications in our daily lives. Our goal here at Temple Buddhist Center is not to get everyone to agree on a specific lineage, philosophy, or sect of Buddhism, but rather it is on a shared experience of mindfulness, oneness, and love. And part of that experience is chanting. At Temple Buddhist Center, we like to make chanting a part of every service. And today, our chant is Om Shanti Sat Chitananda. Chanting is not about being a singer. Chanting is about having a voice. Chanting traditionally was used as a way to codify the teachings of the Buddha. In the more religious aspects of Buddhism, it is used to invoke various energies or deities. But in our Western tradition, as it's developing, we use chanting as a way to focus the mind-body organism, to ground, to center, and to help to bring about a sense of oneness as we raise our voices together, both energetically and symbolically. So at this time, I will invite Rochelle to tone us in, and our chant is Om Shanti Sat Chitananda. 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 Once more. Om Shanti Sat Chitananda. Om, in the Sanskrit language, means the sound of the universe, reminding each one of us that we are a beautiful note in a grand cosmic symphony forever playing. Shanti means peace. Once we can find that in our hearts, we can radiate that out and help to find it in our communities and in our cities. And Sat Chitananda means truth, bliss, and consciousness. So thank you for joining us in that chant. We take time now to move into our Refuge Prayer. Here in the Buddhist practice, we take refuge in the three jewels and acknowledge these core values as expressions of the awakened mind, the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. We value awareness of our Buddha nature as well as the Buddha nature of all beings, bringing a fresh new perspective to each and every precious moment. And the Dharma, the second jewel, the truth teachings that help release us from fear and delusion and help us to realize the true nature of who we are. And finally, the third jewel, our Sangha, our spiritual community, where we come together to practice the teachings and to help each other along every step of the path. And so now, as we enter time for the prayer of refuge, we will recite this 3 times for the 3 jewels. Together, in Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, we go for refuge until fully awakened through the power of generosity, ethics, patience, enthusiastic effort, concentration, and wisdom. For the sake of all beings, may we realize and demonstrate our innate goodness. In Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, we go for refuge until fully awakened through the power of generosity, ethics, patience, enthusiastic effort, concentration, and wisdom. For the sake of all beings, may we realize and demonstrate our innate goodness. In Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, we go for refuge until fully awakened through the power of generosity, ethics, patience, enthusiastic effort, concentration, and wisdom. For the sake of all beings, may we realize and demonstrate our innate goodness. And what a wonderful reminder that is, taking refuge in our Buddha nature, in the teachings, and in our spiritual community, whether that's online or in a physical presence with family members or close friends. And we sound the bell at the end of the prayer of refuge as a lighthouse, as a beacon, as a way to help people remember that this is where they can go. And during these difficult times of unrest, this can be a wonderful reminder. And so as we prepare now for a time in meditation, if you have an extensive practice, then I invite you to practice in a way that is fitting for you this morning. If, however, you are new to meditation, we will begin with a dedication of intention. We will awaken the bell 3 times for the 3 jewels. And then our special guest today, Mr. Robert Brumet, will lead us in a guided meditation to assist you in moving into the stillness. And we will spend approximately 10 to 12 minutes in noble silence this morning, connecting in consciousness. And so, as you prepare your surroundings at home by turning off anything or silencing any cell phones or closing the door, whatever you need to do to help prepare your surroundings, make yourself comfortable. We will begin with a conscious breath together. Holding that breath for a moment and then releasing slowly. Body, speech, and mind in perfect oneness. I send my heart along with the sound of the bell. May the hearers awaken from forgetfulness, transcend the path of anxiety and sorrow, and realize the true nature of who they are.
As the sound of the bell recedes into the silence, I invite you to join with me in taking another conscious breath. And as you exhale, allow your body to relax, feeling the shoulders drop, perhaps, relaxing the lower jaw, the tongue. Breathing deep into the belly. Feeling each breath, sensing each breath from inside the breath itself. Being aware of hearing, being aware of the body sitting in a chair or cushion or bench. Being present to all that is here in this one and only moment, right now. Breath by breath, we come home. Breath by breath, we get centered in the core of our being. Breath by breath, we enter into deep silence. Deep silence. And when thought arises, when something catches our attention, pulls us away from being present in this moment, we simply notice that. And we simply notice that whatever arises, it's only in this present moment. And any time that I am aware, I am in the present. Whatever arises in the body, the mind, simply allow it, be present to it, and then come back to the breath. Very simple, being kind, being persistent, one breath at a time, one breath at a time. Now, at this time, I invite you to sense your body, feeling your feet on the floor, feeling your back, your bottom in the chair, on the cushion. Feeling your spine. Feeling what it's like to inhabit the body fully. And then opening the awareness to include hearing, to allow the sounds to reach our ears. And then to gently open the eyes to take in seeing, allowing the sights to come to you. So that as you see and hear, sense, think, feel, walk and talk, you do so from a centered, embodied, conscious place. With the eyes open, fully aware of the body, fully aware of our surroundings, we end this formal sitting period with a moment of gratitude. Gratitude for this practice. And so it is. Okay, good morning, friends. The title of my Dharma Talk today is betrayal. Betrayal, that's a word that's loaded for most of us. We have lots of memories, feelings connected with that. And for some of us, when we think of betrayal, we think perhaps of a unfaithful spouse or a spy that sells national secrets to another country or some form of external betrayal. But there are many other types of betrayal that are much more subtle and more internal. And those are the kind that we typically, if not always, will encounter on our spiritual journey. The spiritual journey is a journey of self-awareness, self-discovery, and virtually all of us have a history of betrayal and of being on both sides of betrayal. So we'll talk about that this morning. Because a betrayal is a broken trust. If there's betrayal, then there must have been some type of trust. And the deeper the trust, the deeper the pain of betrayal, if we feel betrayed. When we trust our life, our heart to someone and it's betrayed, that's very, very painful. And typically we believe, we feel like other people betray us, or perhaps organizations betray us, or maybe God betrays us, or something like that. But actually, betrayment, there's a good word, betrayal, is not a personal thing. What's betrayed is a contract or a covenant. It's a contract we have with others, or at least we believe that we have with others. They may or may not be aware of that same contract, you see. A contract is an agreement. Every relationship has an agreement connected with it. So usually this agreement is unspoken, it's tacit, it's implicit. For example, we have agreements with our parents. Typically the agreement is, the parents say, I will take care of you as long as you be the kind of child I want you to be. And that's the agreement that occurs. Whether we buy into it or not, that's usually the contract that we live with. The same with our family. We have family agreements. This person will be the responsible one in the family. This person will be the irresponsible one in the family. This person will be the emotional caregiver or whatever. We have family roles. We have ways of being with one another that are unspoken agreements that determine what behavior is appropriate, what forms of communication are appropriate, and so forth. We have agreements with our partners, our spouses. And not just the marital vows, if we take any, but usually there's a contract that goes on under the radar when two people get married. And there are these expectations, beliefs. When one person says, I love you, I want to marry you, spend the rest of my life with you, they have in mind contract A. The other person says, yes, that's wonderful, let's do it. They have in mind contract B. And sometimes if those are not discovered and talked about, communicated, then we wind up feeling betrayed because that person doesn't meet our contract, and vice versa. We have contracts with our culture. Agreements, again, these are usually unconscious and unspoken, that we'll work hard, that we'll get an education, that we'll get a good job, that we'll behave as good citizens. And in return, our culture is supposed to do certain things for us, to be rewarded economically or socially in some way. We have contracts with our different subcultures. Different subcultures, you have a contract to dress a certain way or to wear your hair a certain way or to do things or not do things that are appropriate to that particular subculture. We have contracts with our religion, our spirituality, that if I believe, if I behave, if I practice, if I act a certain way, then certain results will come about. Most contracts involve a quid pro quo. It's a term we haven't heard for a few months. Quid pro quo. I've had some dental work. I have a little trouble speaking. Quid pro quo really means, it's literally means this for that. It's just an agreement that I'll do this and you do that. So from this quid pro quo comes expectations on the parts of both sides of the contract. And once again, if those expectations aren't met, we may feel like we've been betrayed. The process of the Dharma practice, the process of awakening spiritually, inevitably involves discovering the contents of our subconscious, our memories, old memories, recent memories, memories in the body, emotional memories. And almost always, some of those will include the experience of betrayal, because it's inevitable that we are going to feel betrayed. And I'm not saying that we have been betrayed. I'm not talking about an object of betrayal, but we're going to have feelings of betrayal based upon our understanding of our relationships. Usually we'll see the ways that we have been betrayed. First, that's the first thing that we discover, is the feelings of the victim of the betrayal. That we may have been betrayed by our parents. Maybe our parents didn't take care of us the way that we needed. Maybe their parents weren't loving the way that we needed. Maybe we were the children that our parents wanted us to be, and we're no happier. We're no better off than we were before. In fact, we're unhappier, you see. So we often feel betrayed by our parents. Sometimes our parents may have been unavailable. Death, illness, addiction. We feel betrayed because of that. We can feel betrayed by our religion. This is quite common in our culture anymore, that many people feel like the religion of their childhood has betrayed them, that it has not offered solace and comfort and compassion, but rather judgment and perhaps punishment even. Many people have been betrayed by clergy, sexually or in other ways. And this is very difficult, particularly in some religions where the clergy person is seen as a representative of God. You know, to a young child, why the priest is a god. And to be abused by a priest is horribly difficult. It's a great betrayal, you see. We can be betrayed by teachers, by friends, spouses, lovers, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And particularly relevant today, it seems like, is by our government, by our police departments, by those that are supposed to be taking care of us, supposed to be protecting us and serving us and looking out for the common good. And many are feeling betrayed by the government. And many people feel that sometimes existing leaders are betraying their commitment to the Constitution or to the service of the betterment of humankind. So this whole idea of betrayal is a very one that's alive and active, even though that word is not necessarily used in our culture. So there's a great deal of emotion behind this form of betrayal. It's not at all uncommon to feel betrayed by our culture as we mature and grow in self-awareness. Many of us did all of the, quote, right things according to our culture. We, got educated, we worked hard, we climbed the corporate ladder, or we did whatever we were supposed to do, we thought. And even if we succeed, we're no happier than we were before. In fact, probably less happy. That's a very crucial time in our life, often referred to as the midlife crisis, but I don't like that term because it's kind of a way of discounting it. But it's a recognition of, wait a minute, everything I've built my life on is a pile of straw. It's now, the wind could blow it away, you see, and it has in many ways. So I think in many ways too, our culture, our nation is going through a sense of betrayal. Certainly many of our citizens, particularly minorities, feel like they've been betrayed by their government, that they haven't been seen as equal in the name of the law, or they haven't been protected the way the government has agreed to do. And so it's a very, very big issue these days. When we feel betrayed by our culture, oftentimes we feel very disillusioned. We feel disheartened. You know, it's that sense of I spent my whole life doing something, you know, taking care of children or earning a living or all of the things that a quote, responsible citizen should do. And yet, it doesn't work. I'm not only not rewarded, I feel empty inside. I feel unhappy, discouraged, duped. That's often something I feel like I've been lied to. You see. So the deeper the trust we have, the deeper the pain we experience when we feel that disillusionment. You see. So, as I mentioned at the beginning, we feel like we've been betrayed, but we also eventually, if we're honest with ourselves, see that we often are the other side of that equation. We are the betrayer. And, you know, as our spiritual journey unfolds, we release a lot of our old identities, if not all of them, our old roles in the family system, our old relationships, our old agreements. We're not, quote, the person we used to be. And it's always interesting to go back and go back home or go back in time and visit with people from the past that were part of a world of old agreements. And they'll say, gee, you know, you're not the person you used to be. You know, it's like, you know, where's the old Bob or Fred? You know, where did he go? And so even such things as becoming sober, getting rid of an addiction, can be seen as a betrayal by those that were part of the old community. And for many of us that have engaged on the spiritual path, we see our families see us as betrayers. You know, it's like, he's going to become a Buddhist? Oh my God, you know. So it's like we feel like we have done something wrong. Maybe not consciously, but it's pretty likely that's going to be there in some way. So it's important to be aware of any feelings of guilt as we break these old bonds. Even though there's no, you know, quote, objective reason to feel guilt, it's likely to be there. And so it's also very common to feel like we are the outsider. Oftentimes, when we break away from the herd, the crowd, and the covenant with that old group, that we may feel very alone and very lonely sometimes because we haven't found our tribe, so to speak. We haven't found a group of individuals that have made the same covenant that we've made. And the deeper we go with that, the more alone often that we feel. So let's talk briefly about what to do when these arise. And it's not so much what to do, but how to be, how to meet them. You know, that's the Dharma practice. It's not about fixing something, but it's about how do I meet this wisely. So I want to talk about 4 things, 4 steps, if you will. The first one is to recognize betrayal. Just say, you know, that's a feeling of being betrayed. Now, feeling betrayed is important that we don't say, okay, somebody else is at fault and it's their fault I feel the way I do. That's not what I'm talking about. Is when we feel betrayed, the next question to ask is to say, what agreement did I have, or what agreement did I think I had? You know, oftentimes we may say I've been betrayed by my spouse because they're not the person that I married. Well, they are the person you married, But in your mind, they're not the person that you married, you see, or the job that I thought I was taking, or whatever the case might be. So being aware of betrayal, being aware of the agreement, and sometimes exploring, was this agreement spoken? Did we really talk about it? Do they have the same agreements that I have? Maybe not, you see. So just exploring and recognizing what betrayal is, what it feels like. And that's the second step, is to feel our feelings, as always, to feel them in the body, and to experience them in the mind, to experience the thoughts, the beliefs, the desires, the memories, all that goes with that, you see. Feeling the body, experiencing, exploring the mind. Third step is to forgive. Now, forgive does not mean it's like, well, I'll let them off the hook. Forgiveness, as I define it, simply means giving up our story. To forgive means letting go of hoping for a better past. So to forgive is to say, what is, what was. And that's all there is to it. It's not saying it was right or wrong, or good or bad. It's just saying, I'm letting go of my story. I can still feel my feelings. Forgiving does not mean that I don't feel feelings around it, but it means I don't have a story around what happened. See? The feelings are in the present moment. The story is locked up in the past. So giving up all hope for a better past is forgiveness. And the fourth step is to trust once again, only to trust with wise trust and not naive trust. Ultimately, to trust our own wisdom. And how do we gain wisdom? Oftentimes by being betrayed and by learning. We gain wisdom by living our life. We can't gain wisdom by reading a book. We gain wisdom by experiencing what we're experiencing. So the next time, it's like, it doesn't mean I'll never trust again, because that's not wise to make that decision, and many people do. Many people become very cynical. Say, I don't trust I'll never trust anybody again, you see. That's not healthy, it's not helpful. But it's about, I'll trust again, but first I trust my own wisdom. I trust my own sense of self. Then that deeper understanding will guide me to who I can trust and maybe whom I can't. Ultimately, let me go back and reiterate. Recognize, feel, forgive, and then develop wise trust. Those are the four. Recognize, feel, forgive, and trust once again with wise trust. Ultimately, the only betrayal is self-betrayal. Anytime we leave our own true nature, our own authentic self, and look for satisfaction, look for meaning, look for truth in the world around us, in the external world, we are betraying ourselves. So when we look for meaning, when we look for the validation of our existence, when we look for value, even for love, when we look for that from the world around us, we are leaving ourselves. And that is a form of betrayal. Anytime we leave the present moment, we are betraying ourselves, because our authentic self always exists and is always present in this moment, and only in this moment. So as I get lost in the fantasies of the past or the future, I am betraying, I am abandoning myself. So as we meet each moment with awareness, with equanimity, with kindness, we are cultivating that connection to the authentic self, to the Buddha nature. And so we learn to trust the Buddha nature, the authentic self. We begin to develop wisdom. And when we develop wisdom, we learn to trust, but we trust wisely. We don't put our life in someone else or something else, but we depend upon them in an appropriate way. So I want to finish by saying, as we learn to trust wisely, as we learn to trust life, we live more freely, we're no longer bound by the old contracts, and the world is not seen as a place to fulfill our emptiness, but rather a place to express our wholeness and our fullness. So thanks for your attention this morning. I wish you well.
Thank you so much, Robert. So let's just take a moment to let the teachings sink in. You might even become aware of the mind grasping. Sometimes it's better to just listen with the heart, listen with the body. And so as we move to a time now of loving kindness practice, you might want to shift your posture or stretch just for a moment. And we'll begin with a conscious breath together, holding that for a moment, and then releasing slowly. And as you release, I invite you to bring to mind now a full body image of you, the form that has been given your name and has accrued the many experiences over the years. And holding this image in your mind's eye, recite silently to yourself, or even out loud if you wish, these words of metta, or loving kindness practice. May I be filled with loving kindness. May I be safe from inner and outer dangers. May I be well in body and mind. And may I be at ease and happy. Conscious breath together. As we release, I invite you to bring to mind now the image of a friend of yours. And holding this full body image of your friend in your mind's eye, let us send to them loving kindness, or metta. May you be filled with loving kindness. May you be safe from inner and outer dangers. May you be well in body and mind. And may you be at ease and happy. Conscious breath. And as you release that sentiment into the universe, I invite you to bring to mind now the image of a difficult person in your life, a challenging person. Could be a boss or a coworker, a neighbor, a family member, or a political figure. And holding this image in your mind's eye, let us send to them metta. May you be filled with loving kindness. May you be safe from inner and outer dangers. May you be well in body and mind. And may you be at ease and happy. Conscious breath. And as you release this sentiment into the universe, I invite you to bring to mind now the image of the world, the plants, the flowers, the trees, animals of the land, the sea, the sky, and all sentient beings. And let's recite to them all these words of loving kindness or metta practice. May you be filled with loving kindness. May you be safe from inner and outer dangers. May you be well in body and mind. And may you be at ease and happy. Conscious breath together. Releasing that sentiment into the universe. And in the true spirit of dana, the Buddhist practice of generosity, temple services are given freely. In the same way, if you choose to give, please give with a generous heart, which means not in return for anything that you have received today, but rather so that those who may be seeking refuge in these teachings, in this temple, with this Sangha, may find it here. And we take a moment of gratitude for all of our ambassadors, those folks who have committed to regular monthly electronic giving. It's not about the amount, it's just that the monthly giving helps us to set a budget here at TBC. And also thank you so much to all of our volunteers, so many wonderful people. Of course, Eric at home helping with the overlays and the live streaming, and Rob operating the camera, and to Rochelle for her music and her friendship and her presence, and of course to Mr. Robert Brumet for his mentorship, his friendship, his teachings, and his knowledge of the Dharma. Thank you so much, Robert. We are so blessed to have you. And thank you, of course, also to each and every one of you for sharing your practice, for sharing your presence with us here at Temple Buddhist Center. And as we prepare now for our closing dedication, the bodhicitta dedication, we will recite this once together, and then I have a few brief announcements that I hope you can stay with me for. And so, our bodhicitta dedication together. May the pure, brilliant sun of bodhicitta dawn in each and every heart and mind, dispelling the darkness of suffering and confusion unstoppably until all are illumined and awakened. And with the palms of our hands together in front of our hearts, as we go forth from this place, may we enter each moment in innocence, guided by the wisdom of our hearts. And as we open our hands, open our eyes, shining our light into the world, namaste. Again, thank you all so much. And I also want to thank everyone for the letters and the emails and the text messages wishing well for Unity Temple in the Plaza during these times of unrest. As many of you know, there has been quite a bit of protesting going on down here around Unity Temple and the Temple Buddhist Center, and all is well. So thank you for all of your questions. And also, many of you have asked about in what ways can we help with these protests. I know that in the Buddhist practice, there's something known as conscious activism. And it's very important to understand that it's not so much what we do, but what is in our hearts as we do it. And so Buddhism, a lot of people are like, it's very passive, and what good is sitting around meditating doing when there is so much injustice happening? But this is not true. Buddhism can be actually quite fierce and ferocious in its compassion for all beings, those who, as Robert talked about today, those who may feel betrayed and those who might even be feeling as if they are betrayers. And so it's important to first purify within your heart all of the fear, the greed, the anger, the hatred, because putting more of that into our communities, into our universe, is not helpful. So as we sit on the cushion and we purify those things, there are ways that we can help. And I've asked Eric to put on the overlay on the screen a couple of those places. One of those is the American Civil Liberties Union of Missouri, which is an organization dedicated to helping civil liberties and helping to make sure that people who are perhaps arrested during the protest, and these are not the people that are looting or instigating violence, these are the people that are expressing civil disobedience, who are sitting down in the streets and who are carrying signs. So it's very important to help these people who are in the trenches, who are expressing what needs to be expressed right now as we go through and birth this new reality, this greater reality. Also is the Minnesota Freedom Fund, which is doing the exact same thing, helping young black individuals and brown and white and people of all races and colors as they unite and come together to express what injustices are happening. So this is one way that we can help without actually being present during a pandemic and putting our family members at risk. This is one way that we can express and help, and to make sure that we do so with compassion in our hearts, not anger. This is just a time of great change and unrest, and we can be a fierce part of that by purifying that same fear, greed, and anger within ourselves. So never underestimate the power of a few people who are willing to sit with and look at those racism that has been a part of our lives, to look at the anger, the fear, the hatred, and to look at it and to open dialogues with all those around us. So be sure to check in with templebuddhistcenter.com as we provide more spiritual nourishment both on Facebook and on our website through dialogues and discussions, through meditations, through chanting, and helping to heal our planet and our communities by being a model of understanding where fear, greed, hatred, and delusion come from. It's not that person. It starts here in our hearts, and then it is projected out onto other people. So thank you so much for being with us today. And another quick note, we are looking at reopening Temple Buddhist Center, but it'll still probably be another 25, maybe 30 days. We're looking at the end of June. And as we do so, we will begin reopening with a registration process. We don't have it finished yet, but we will have a website where you can register to physically attend. The registration is simply we can only hold so many people and still practice safe distancing. Face masks will be required. Sanitizer will be available. And so we will start doing that here towards the end of June. I know many of you have been asking, and we will post more of that information on the website and on the Facebook page. And also a quick note to remember that at 10:15, Kyle Webster will be hosting a post-service discussion group, and he does so on the WebEx platform. It's just like Zoom. It's very easy. You might have to, sign up with WebEx, but once you do that, you simply type in the code, and you can get into the meeting. If you would like to know how to attend that, simply go to the Temple Buddhist Center Facebook page and look at the post-service discussion event, or you can also go to our templebuddhistcenter.com and find it on the website. And that way you can come in and be a part of that. And don't forget, this coming week is the first Tuesday of the month, which is Video Dharma and Discussion. And so I will be hosting that as we come together in a Zoom group to take a look at some of today's most influential spiritual teachers on YouTube, and use those short videos as a springboard for discussion, for talking about the Dharma and understanding how it applies to our lives. And so again, thank you all for being here. And as you go into your day, peace and blessings.